Hi, it's Alex. We recorded this in August, and then I went back to school, so it didn't get edited until now, but happy Homestuck Day. Thanks for sticking with us. Hello, and welcome to the Hamsteak podcast. It's the podcast where we talk about Homestuck and read it, and tell you about it.
That is accurate. This is Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex.
Has not
I never
read Homestuck
God.
before.
It's early in the morning, folks, but we got this. I've never read Homestuck before.
And my name's Lydia, and I super have. Kinda. So today we're in the run-up to Cascade. I'm so excited.
Me too. This reading ruled. Since our hiatus, and last time was kind of a recap of stuff we'd already read. This is my first new stuff in a while, and it's oh yeah, this is good.
Yeah, it makes me really excited to hear you say that because honestly, unfortunately, this part is so dense. I spent so much time trying to figure out how to break up these readings that I have read this goddamn section of text so many times that for me, unfortunately, I really think pretty much all of the cool value is just gone, and which is another way to appreciate it because Homestuck I feel is a lot of just oh shit moments, for lack of a better word, and once you take that phenomenon away, it's weird to be able to actually kind of see the bones of it a little better.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, I guess. Yeah, I, as a first-time reader, I'm just kind of along for the ride here, and I don't expect it to really make complete sense as I'm going through it, but it feels like it's going somewhere.
That's a great way to describe it. It definitely is going somewhere. I've been listening to our old episodes, our old first episode, and I remember I talked about how Hussey did, I completely forgot about this. He described his storytelling method as retroactive foreshadowing, where basically he would just account for things, he would just, kind of make random decisions and then later on act like they had been deliberate and part of, complicated machination. And those chickens are starting to come home to roost a little bit. And we're starting to see what happens when you do that.
Right. And I think an important part of it is that he's upfront about that. Every the first few pages where you're describing everything about John, I don't, as the reader, expect all those things to have been planned out to have repercussions 5,000 pages from now, but it does make sense for him to invent repercussions for them, basically.
I guess it is just storytelling, huh?
It is unique storytelling. It's a very unique tone, I think, or at least it's a good example of a kind of tone that's less prominent than serious storytelling.
Yeah, it feels almost it's almost more in line. I'm not necessarily holding Hussey up on the same level as these gentlemen, but it feels in line with a Terry Pratchett or a Douglas Adams, where it's
I think so. I think that's a fair comparison. He's the millennial Terry Pratchett.
Yeah, he doesn't take this shit seriously. He does, but he doesn't.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Hey, cool. Oh, doing this stuff in the morning is great. I'm way less cynical about it. You want to talk about pages?
Yeah. So we start on homestuck.com /page 3659, which is still super weird to say.
Yeah. I'm not going to get into it. You got to get on it. We're on a mission today. Okay. Yes. So when we begin, I really hope that y'all went back and listened to the last episode so you remember what happened before this, because if I were to do a recap right now, I don't even know where I would start.
Well, I mean, I can I didn't go back this time, but basically John is going into this big hole in Skya.
Time to go in the hole.
Time to go in the hole. And so he ends up in this big chamber in the center of this battlefield planet, where the tumor is, and what it looks like is a big spiky yin yang orb, and it's sick.
It's a tumor, so it literally is, I suppose, a symptom of sickness. But yeah, it's sick looking. It's got this painterly art style to it, and It looks like a horse chestnut. It looks like a really evil horse chestnut, or possibly a
Oh,
sea
you're
urchin.
right. That's so funny. My first note was like, this is like, this would be such a cool vinyl design, and that must exist. Like
Oh.
someone must have made like a vinyl pressing of Homestuck soundtrack with this design.
Oh, with the edges cut out and everything?
I haven't even thought of that, but yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be dope. You can make like shaped vinyls, like.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. So he finds it. The tumor is a giant bomb. It's in the center of the battlefield, the like sort of four-dimensional planet thing in Skya where the great battle takes place. And John has dug it out to take it and blow up the green sun in an effort to destroy the power source that is fueling Batgirl and thereby Beck Noir, who is about
Mm.
to destroy everyone. And some pieces of trivia that you see around the inside of that cavern on like your 20th reading. On the walls are some symbols.
Yeah, it's the Prospect and Durst symbols, the moon and the inverted moon. Moon, I guess waxing and waning is what those are. And with the corresponding kid symbols, so there's the wind and the spiral for John and Jade, and then there's the sun and the gear for Rose and Dave. Oh wait, but the sun isn't Rose's symbol. I just realized that.
Is it though?
Isn't her symbol the squiddle?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Oh.
All I have in my notes is like Alex thoughts.
Oh. I just realized that that wasn't the same one because I'm looking at it again.
Oh man. Oh, I'm excited for where
That's
that
so.
goes.
Wait, so am I right though? The other three are the correct symbols.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, interesting. I don't know what that means. So this sun, am I correct in remembering that this is like the sun that appears in the sky above Earth
Yes.
in Homestuck? Okay. And it also, Rose obviously is connected to the green sun.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure that there is meaning behind this.
Yes.
Great.
Yes, it is. I think the other important plot relevant thing that we need to note is that the tumor shows a magic 8-ball face, which
Mhm.
is, we know somebody that likes a magic 8-ball.
Mhm.
And it's got a countdown from 1025.
Yeah.
And that is a significant number. So 413 is the Homestuck number because that's the date when it started. And what is it? 1025 is the date the Trolls arc started.
Okay.
So that's sort of the Troll 413.
Right.
John puts this asteroid-sized bomb in his wallet. It's funny.
Yeah, which I genuinely like just laughed at out loud because I forgot about the whole captcha log thing.
It's a good bit.
It's always funny.
So then he flies out of the hole, and it's Liv Tyler. She's back.
It's the bunny.
Yeah, not human Liv Tyler. It's a patchwork robot rabbit, if you recall.
Yeah.
And Liv Tyler has met up with the Wayward Vagabond and the Courtyard Droll.
Hmm.
She has lost all of her weapons except for a little rainbow hammer. It looks kind of like at the doctor when they like hammer.
Oh yeah, you're right.
When you're a child, it looks like that.
Yeah. So there's some like shenanigans with this Liv Tyler. She passes a note to John that's from Jade, explaining that the bunny now has some functions. It has a red and green eye, or it has red eye and a green eye. The green eye monstrosifies things, as in makes them bigger, and the red eye littleifies things.
This is true. Where are you getting that it's from Jade?
It was in her handwriting.
Mm?
And it's green, but it's just J. So I'm guessing it's not her.
Okay, the narrative would certainly lead you to believe that it is Jade. I'll tell you that. The persona in which it is written does not feel like Jade, is what I'm saying.
You're right. You're right. And it's also written with like capitalized letters, which I don't believe Jade does.
People who are familiar with the story are screaming.
I remember now that who it is, who I haven't met yet.
Oh no!
I mean, it's been like 3 years since I started this. I have pieced together some things.
Yeah, that's true. That's all the authentic Homestuck reading experience. Chip away at it. It's like reading scripture. Um, no. It is like reading Lord of the Rings, though.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, is sort of pretending it's scripture.
Right.
Pretending to be fable. Shit. I totally spaced out. Yes,
so
because we were talking about this mysterious letter. It's written in a really fun character persona of like this like old-timey scamp, but also a lot of swear words. So it's cool. It's fun.
which, like, to be fair, I like just kind of like was like, oh, okay, that's a Jade kind of thing to do, I guess. But it's not Jade. It's close to Jade.
It's Jade Jason.
It's adjacent.
Oh, yours is better.
Adjacent. But yeah, John guesses it's probably just Jade.
Yes. Liv Tyler has lost all of her weapons, which is really sad. She used to have a bunch of like super powerful weapons. I don't remember why. She had a bunch of super powerful weapons, just like time shenanigans, capitalogging shenanigans and stuff like that. But the breeze blows back this tiny little garish clown hammer. And now that John realizes he can embiggen it, he creates
the Warhammer of Zillyhoo.
Oh, I love the Warhammer of Zillyhoo so much. I have been thinking about the Gregorian chant that accompanies the introduction of the Warhammer of Zillyhoo.
Yeah, it's something.
Since 2012. Oh.
It's very funny.
I'm not going to treat you to like a rendition of it, but it is, I swear to God, it's a Gregorian chant.
It literally is, yeah.
Of the Warhammer of Zillyhoo. Just that's the lyric. But what's cool about it is as it's playing, there's drum beats and creepy cuts of Gamzee standing over a terrified car cat holding Zillyhoo.
Yeah.
We don't do anything with that. Just cut right back to John. And there's a bunch of jokes about how John is a friend leader and a pal honcho who makes request orders.
Mm-hmm.
He's not their leader.
Right.
He's not their boss, but he is. So CD is an excellent henchman, and I would say a friend-shaped boy.
He is friend-shaped. I will say that. But while John was like getting excited about his new hammer, the green eye on the bunny just like immediately went missing.
Oh shit! Yeah, I forgot that.
It's pretty important, I assume.
It does. I don't remember. I think, did WV eat it?
I don't think that's clear.
I don't think he ate it.
Oh, wait, no, there's a green burp, so I'm assuming yes.
Yeah, I think he ate it. But CD, who is a friend-shaped boy, gives Liv an eye patch for her damaged eye.
Mm-hmm.
And then John sends them all, including CD, who has just appeared out of nowhere but just appears trustworthy, sends them all to Durst on a battleship that he has used Liv Tyler's eye to like shrink down. And their job is going to be to deploy the tumor.
Mm-hmm. And he makes a note of like he doesn't remember where CD came from, but he seems nice enough.
Yeah, I mean, and he does. He's a sweetie. CD has been caught up in things bigger than him. True,
he is like an agent of chaos, but not a very effective one.
Yeah, like chaotic good, I would say. Oh, I would play. Oh, I don't know, people are out there doing this already, but like I would play like a TTRPG of like just like the Midnight Crew or something.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. I was like imagining like a TTRPG of Spurb, but that would be impossible to actually like do properly because you'd have to know exactly what was going to happen and like write it out beforehand.
Oh, I want to try it. I can't take time and like hash out how it would work, but like I want to find out a way of like it wouldn't be like Homestuck where like everything plays into everything else. But it would be cool, right? Because like the way that the battlefield is created is all influenced by what your players prototype, and it is imperative you do not tell your players that that's going to happen.
I wonder if you could like, would you play it with people who've never read Homestuck, or with people who have, or with a mix?
That's true. You could play it with a mix. You could play it with people who all had, and I guess it's really on you to be creative with how you take the things that they prototype their sprites with.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, it actually sounds like a really cool GMing exercise, right? They give you prompts essentially, and then you get to build a bunch of planets
Mm-hmm.
and local mythologies,
Yeah.
and that sounds really cool.
I think a very simplified version of it could be done. It would be a lot of fun.
Yes. Oh, for sure. For sure.
But yeah, so John, unfortunately, when he gave his wallet to the bomb crew, left his communication device in there. Silly boy.
Yeah, and so we see a pester log of Jade like messaging him of just like, you don't have a computer, do you? And there's just like a shot of him like with a clown face on, like waving like a moron at the departing battleship, and she goes, "We have to get you some lunch muffs as backup computers, and less dirty." But John, can you hear my cats? Hang on.
Nope.
Okay, that's good.
I wish I could though.
I live with a bunch of loud animals now. I feel like I wake up on a farm. I wake up, I gotta like separate the cats from the dogs so I can run the dog outside. I'm like barefoot in a bunch of wet grass, wait for the dog to take a shit, bring her back in, route her, get her toy, route her back into her room so I can go home and feed the cats. Mm-hmm. It's a whole thing. I'm barefoot in a long skirt too, so it's like illusion complete. So John nominally is like staying back. He wants to stay back on the battlefield so that he can keep looking for his dad, because recall, Vriska knows his dad's dead and hasn't told him yet. Mm-hmm. So he goes off and he's gonna investigate. It's actually cool. It's been throughout this sequence. What you think are maybe just, tendrils of the battlefield or whatever are slowly like, because it has kind of like overhead like arching bridges and stuff, but they grow and they fan out and they're very clearly like something weird and tendrily and black is happening.
Yeah, it's like
on the horizon.
Like an ink storm almost.
That's such a good way to describe it.
Yeah, it's like on the horizon, like you said, there's this like cyclone of blackness with purple lightning, which seems like a great place to go look for your dad.
Yeah. And I mean, unfortunately, he's right.
Yeah. So he investigates this grimdark phenomenon.
Yeah, he flies over, and then we begin a pretty involved game. You're mostly Rose.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you're Rose the whole time. It's called See or Descend in our like ascend and descend theme. Mm-hmm. And it starts with an animation of Rose descending. Her skin has gone like dark gray and her eyes are glowing, and she's inside of this cloud of tentacles, this huge cloud of tentacles unraveling around her.
Yeah, so she descends down onto the balcony where her mom and John's dad like lie dead and bloody. And she just kind of walks past them and doesn't have like if you investigate their bodies like in the game, she's only here for Jack, she says. It's very chilling.
Yeah, the no sign of Jack here, and like part of this is like, oh, this was more noteworthy in 2011 when this was coming out, but like it's cool that we have like girl characters that are robust, and her entire character point is not like she wasn't nobody before she, started having a revenge thing. Like, what am I trying to say? She's having like this crazy revenge breakdown, but it's like not gendered.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
How rare do like girl characters get to do that? Where like, oh, now she's powerful. Like she was always powerful, and now she's just going off the deep end, and everybody's kind of very worried for her, actually.
Yeah.
As opposed to it being like, oh, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, this is great. It's like, oh, fam, what's going on? Yeah, the music rips. I wanna shout out the music rips, and I forgot to look up who made it. I wanna add it to the show notes if we can. It rips. It starts out as like a creepy music box over like violin and strings and choir, and violin is like Rose's like kind of theme instrument, mm-hmm. And then everything kind of goes like movie score epic, and it adds some like electronic runs to it and some really pounding drums. It becomes very sinister.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's great.
it's really good. And as she descends down this spiral staircase, she comes across these like dismembered bodies of carapace people from like both black and white there, and they uh, there are some survivors that she encounters, and they are all like just terrified because Jack's here. And then she finds some trophies in these chests, and they seem to be like the mementos of the slain guardians, like mom's scarf, bro's sunglasses, dad's hat.
Yeah.
Uh, which who's putting these in chests? Like, why is Jack putting them there?
Ah.
I mean, like it's both like kind of an abstracted game mechanic, like way of just having these items here, but also later on, the trolls kind of like lampshade the chests in their like meteor lab hideout.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
shortly afterwards.
So the idea is probably that Jack actually put these here for some reason.
The whole thing is pretty cool. It's all I won't get into it, but on a first read, it's probably pretty neat. As she explores the tapestries and library books scattered around, there's all these references, these like vague mythical references to characters, some of which bear a little resemblance to what's been going on with the kids,
Mhm.
and the others that seem like they're supposed to be like foreshadowing of things that the kids might do.
Yeah, it's written as like mythology or lore or even like prophecies from the Carapace people.
Then there's a thing that pays off later in this episode. So at the end of it, Rose has to go through a whole bunch of curtains.
Yeah,
to get to
like 4 sets of red curtains, then blue, then red again.
And then green ones.
Yeah, 6 green ones then.
And so they're going to come up later.
Yeah.
I'll get back to that. And then Rose finds John before she finds Jack, and John wants to go, or John is looking for his dad, and so Rose can't speak. She's speaking in like the Eldritch tongues,
Yeah.
but you know, in the game you can take him back out and show him his dad, and the game just ends.
Yeah, so there's 2 choices basically, that you can go forward and you can go back and show him like back through the whole thing. And I didn't realize that like if you took him back to see his dad, like that's the actual ending, and like at that point the game ends and the next panel is them there. So I don't actually know what was up ahead because I didn't want to go like do the whole thing again.
Oh, okay. What is ahead? I think the game also just ends. You keep going, right?
Like I don't know if like there's only one more room, but like when you meet Jack or John, there is like a door like north of you.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I didn't go back and check what was there.
Okay. I don't think there is anything. I think it just kind of kicks you out.
Okay.
And so
it's important to note this is also their first time face to face, I think.
Yeah.
And she's like speaking in tongues. It's really sad.
Yeah. It is sad. These kids get to meet their online friends, but only in like the most dire of circumstances.
Mm-hmm. So once the game ends, John sees Jack hovering over the bodies of the Guardians, and they go to fight, but Jack just immediately teleports and stabs John.
Yeah, instantly. Just right through the torso.
Yeah.
And then Rose gears up for round 2, and Jack teleports them out somewhere among lots of green stars, and they fade to black.
Yeah, there's just like an explosion of green stars. But then we cut to Dave, who is in some kind of mushroom cave, and he's confronting the stabbed body of his dead bro.
Yeah. The first thing I actually wrote for this scene is that Dave's hair didn't age well. Because it was cool kid hair in 2010, and it ain't.
It's like
anymore.
Justin Bieber hair.
No, so is Justin Bieber. But now that I've kind of completely belittled there is some gravity in this scene. Terezi reaches out to him.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you want to introduce this? Because there's a lot going on in this scene.
Basically, I feel like Dave is just trying to be come off as too ironically detached to allow himself to be seen grieving.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't want Terezi to like be watching him experiencing this, basically.
That's my read on it, is like, and then he does kind of open up to her, and it to me, my read on it, at least this time, is like he's really not sure. Like, he is having very complex grief because he had a very weird,
Mm-hmm.
complicated relationship with his guardian. If you remember, all of these characters have very, like, sort of antagonistic, almost
Yeah.
sort of fraught relationships with their guardians, all of whom genuinely, their guardians, like, loved them and wanted the best for them, but, like, did shit like, Rose's mom was, like, always drunk and, like, engaged in these really weird, like, passive aggressive, like, one-upmanship, almost prank wars, and,
Yeah.
like, Dave's bro, like, would fill their fridge with explosives.
Yeah, I mean, like literally antagonistic relationships, which are like seem to be like training for the shit they're putting up with in Spurb.
Yeah. Yes. Right. And so he's kind of hashing out this experience that he's having with her, and about how he doesn't want to be a hero.
Mm-hmm.
He's not cut out for this, and Terezi wants to. Terezi kind of hijacks the conversation and makes it about her. And to be fair, when Dave makes it clear he doesn't really want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Dave tries to cheer himself up, I guess. At least that's what I'm seeing it as, by doing a cool move to like spring the sword out of his brother.
He wants to break it off because that's his thing.
So he tries to like kick it off.
Yeah, but he rather than like breaking it, he does an acrobatic fucking pirouette off the handle.
So yeah, Terezi says acrobatic fucking pirouette off that handle. And then Dave remarks that that's like a motif, and he's making a point of making every little thing take place. Oh, I'm reading a quote here. Dave says, "That's what I'm doing here. I'm making a point of making every little thing take place what was once mentioned in passing, no matter how seemingly trivial or pointless. That's how that's how all the best adventures get strung together."
Andrew Hussey turns and looks directly at the camera.
Yeah.
Not literally, because I know he does actually do that in the story. No, I'm editorializing.
But yeah, like he just kind of like, he's kind of sick of this being trapped in this like non-linear story. Basically, he doesn't want to be hero of the story.
Yeah, his story really is extremely non-linear too. He's, this has been, they allude to it. I can't remember if it's in this reading or in some of the scenes that they reference in this reading, because I did some backtracking, but it's been about a day for the other characters. It's been about 3 days for him.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't think that was mentioned
days.
here, but yeah.
Yeah, and he's watched his lots of time offshoots of himself die.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been hard. But Terezi wants to talk to him about troll morality instead.
Yeah. Well, he says like he feels like someone needs to actually step to Jack and take him to justice. And then Terezi mentions that this sounds like he has a conscience or an exile. To which Dave says, "Oh, I've never had an exile. I've never had like intrusive thoughts that don't match my personality. That would be illegal."
And then proceeds to have his exile talk to him.
Yeah.
It's something renegade.
Is it munitions something?
I think it's aimless renegade.
Aimless renegade.
And it's the caution tape exile.
The caution tape explosives guy.
Yeah, he's trying to blow up the frog head, the extremely illegal artifact.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember if is this the first time we see him?
No,
I don't think so.
No, all 4 desert friends were like together pretty early.
They are together. Okay, yeah, and it's getting dark out there now, and he's trying to blow up the extremely illegal frog monument.
Mm-hmm.
But Dave just starts talking about this extremely illegal artifact, like, and we need to throw people in the slammer. That's what you do when you're extra angry at crimes. Yeah,
and he's trying to like rationalize how these words that he's saying are like connected to the thing he's talking about to Terezi.
Yeah,
completely unaware, like completely oblivious to the fact that he's being controlled by this, or influenced. I don't know what exactly it would be, but yeah, it's just very funny that like he just has no idea this is happening.
And then I think that's when Terezi kind of takes over the conversation.
Yeah, she talks about the role of legislators, which she tries to explain to him, but he's like, "Yeah, I figured out what that meant, like from what it's called."
Yeah, yeah, they are judge, jury, and executioner. Mm-hmm. Basically, they're sent to it. Nominally, people are tried after they're brought in by the legislator, but usually their corpse is tried.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, she's like seeking to bring Vriska to justice because like that's her duty as a legislator.
Which she isn't. That's her, like, that's who she wants to be when she grows up, basically.
Right. Yeah, she's like emulating her understanding of that. So she thinks that if Vriska goes to fight Jack, not only will she die, she'll tip him off to their location. She's just not sure that if she confronts Vriska, she'll have the guts to finish her off. And she might not like want to be ready to do that. Which is similar to like what Vriska was talking about with John about not being ready to want to kill Tavros, I think, if I'm remembering that properly.
I think so, yeah. Where she was talking about, killing a friend in cold blood is different. They've both murdered lots of people. Terezi would trick them to their deaths. Vriska would also, I guess, trick them to their deaths because she needed to feed her Lucis. Terezi did it to like win at games. But there's something different about, troll society's all focused on your ability to engage in brutality. And she's not sure she can handle, she's not sure she wants to be able to handle, like you said, like, killing her friends.
Yeah. And, well, so Dave kind of, like, breaks it down, and he's like, do you want me to tell you to be a better human or a better troll? And that was really interesting, because it feels to me like, obviously the way that the trolls are written, they're basically just, like, really weird humans. Like, their actual thought processes aren't different. They're just, like, very different cultural norms.
Yeah.
And it really feels like troll morality is this artificial like structure that's imposed on them that they think they have to like naturally acclimate to, but none of them or almost none of them like actually thrive in that system, which might also just like further like cull to make the ones that actually do thrive and are like sociopaths, like the ones who survive to adulthood.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, it feels like their minds are like fundamentally human or like equivalent. Like they're not like they have they have consciences.
Yeah. Capital S society, huh?
We do live in one.
We live in one.
Dave does say about Vriska, if you kill her, we can all stop obsessing over her, which is really funny.
That's exactly the quote that I pulled. Like there you go. I love Terezi and Dave's relationship.
Mm-hmm.
They're great. They're good antagonistic buddies.
Yeah. Then we get a page telling us that it's the end of year 2, which is wild to me that this is only 2011. This is only 2 years in.
Yeah. Reminder that the story ended in 2016.
Mm-hmm. So this is the end of disc 1 of Homestuck.
Yes.
And there's a whole fun thing with the at the bottom of this like card, this like floppy disk is like 4 red, 1 blue, and 1 red like circles, implying that those are like the acts, I guess, and that the disc 2 is 1 green and 1 white. So I don't know what those are.
That's it. They just symbolize like acts and sub-acts.
Yeah. And when those curtains were in the game, I forgot to mention, I just had a note. I was like, I'm not sure if this is like symbolism or if it's just like a joke, like prolonging this suspense. And it was both.
I guess the one thing that you can note is that the red and the blue dots are around when the trolls were introduced.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like 4 acts with like the human leads, and then Act 5 was trolls, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this is Act 5 Act 5 Act 1 or Act 5 Act 2 that we're in right now.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So remove disc 1, start disc 2. Disc 2 is missing.
Mm-hmm.
You must insert disc 2 to continue.
And there's a whole like run around with Terezi looking for disc 2.
Yeah, she falls in a trap.
Yeah, she falls into this like trap door because there was a note apparently from Vriska, very obviously from Gamzee.
Very obviously to all but Terezi.
Mm-hmm.
Little Cal is flying around in a lime green suit, which I think we talked about this in a relatively recent episode, that we found out that Doc Scratch is made of Lil Cal and a bunch of code that people wrote in their dreams. Oh, whatever.
Normal stuff.
Like, fine. But so Lil Cal, puppeted sort of by Gamzee, are zipping around behind her. She's completely oblivious. She's like doing, an investigation on the room.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things she investigates is a music box, and it's just a nice little showcase for musicians for the comic.
Yeah.
Different tracks they've done.
She also finds the Homestuck disc 2 in a record sleeve, but then she puts it in the record player
Gah!
and she makes a big scratch on it. Ha ha.
Ah!
And that's important for later. Um, so this is where they kind of lampshade the chess mechanic, because there's chess in this room containing her old flarping outfit and us like an important scale mate, like the little white dragon. And she thinks that it's just like Vriska like setting up like I want to like have a final showdown basically.
Yeah.
Uh,
But it's very clear to the audience that this is Gamzee trying to
yeah, he's
lure
literally like
her.
in the room, moving very fast. She hugs the scalemate, and it's like replaced with Cal, just in like a creepy panel.
Honk.
Honk.
I want to. Can I shout out like the? Can I shout out more broadly like what's going on in this scene?
Yeah,
Can I
sure,
make some metatextual
for
commentary?
sure.
So the music box page really made me miss like times. I mean, it made me miss when the internet was weird. I mean, this whole comic does,
Mm-hmm.
but that page especially makes me miss when like the internet was weird and it wasn't about necessarily just delivering like the coolest content,
Mm-hmm.
and like driving engagement and that kind of thing. There really was a lot more of people just putting shit up there that they thought was neat, and it was, yeah, it does kind of derail the narrative for a second, but it's like, hey, look at this cool, look at these, just click them. Just that's all this is just click on a thing and watch a little record spin and listen to a song.
Yeah, you're right. It really is like of a different time, I guess. And
Yeah,
like you could still make this today. But it would,
you wouldn't.
even if you made something like if you make something like deliberately meditative like this, where like you just click on something, it's like about that. It's about like taking a break from like the chaos of modern internet. Whereas with this, it was just like a fun idea he had to like showcase some music.
Because there was no chaos of modern internet really to.
I
Well,
mean,
there was starting to be, but
yeah, there was certainly chaos. But I think we can all agree that it was not like uh war is declared on Twitter chaos.
I'm so what?
I mean, that hasn't literally happened yet, but it's like,
Oh no. Mm,
the world we live in.
mm.
Um. Anyway, now we
Wait,
get
I want to shout out one other thing. Can I shout out one other
yeah.
thing? I'm trying to shout out the. I realize we haven't been doing a great job of shouting out how multimedia this comic is. So one
Hmm.
of the songs that's really cool, trying to like provide more imagery for people who aren't reading along. There's an unlabeled record track by Eric Shiel is the musician's name, that I thought was really cool. And then there's a track called X-Rom that I really liked, that just reminded me of computer games I played in like the late 90s and early aughts, of just like, if you were there, you remember what EDM or, like electronic tracks were kind of like at that time.
Hmm.
And it just, it's fills me with delight. And it's just, the music that they include is diverse, and it's, by all these indie producers, and it's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
It makes me feel young and free to listen to, and I don't think just purely out of nostalgia. I think it's a cool tone to strike.
It is.
Okay, sorry, I'll stop derailing you now.
That's okay. So the note that is from Gamzee that's like baiting Terezi to come up to the roof to fight Vriska is written on the back of a page of Vriska's ancestor's diary.
Remember her?
Remember her? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's this definitely isn't a parallel to the scene that's happening now, and you don't have to worry about it. Basically,
Not at all.
I just wanted to shout out one like thing. Like we won't like read through the prose of this because it's fucked up. Like the what's her name, Marquise?
Yeah.
She's like a deeply fucked up, awful character.
Shitty pirate.
Her prose is really striking.
Yes.
And I just wanted to shout out the subjugulators have hijinks spelled out like HIGH jinx, and that just like made me laugh.
That's good.
But yeah, it's an account of how Red Glare, the Legislacerator, completely destroyed the Marquise's pirate fleet.
With the glare of her red-eyed dragon, which ties back into Terezi's
Mm-hmm.
dragon guardian. We can't get all the way into it, but it's a parallel.
It's parallels.
We're starting to get into a place where there are so many like blind alleys and like superfluous flavor plot lines that
Mm-hmm.
we can't. It's hard enough to read and follow everything. We can't get into it all in the recap, but
Yeah.
it's cool. It's cool flavor. It really doesn't especially help you understand what's going on.
Yeah. So there's like an account. This is like an account in the past tense, so we know that Mindfang has survived. But she describes like her trial, which is like a public hearing / execution. But where she's able to manipulate the rowdy peasants into turning on the legislator, and like killing her while Mindfang just kind of gets away.
Yeah. Only to then face down the subjugator himself, who's this like enormous, like house-sized, burly, like monster
Mm-hmm.
quasi-troll thing. That's a really striking image that I also have not stopped thinking about since 2011. And Vriska's a good villain. Her ancestress is also, for the most part, a good villain who's gratuitously gross in certain ways, but
Mm-hmm.
they're compelling. They are.
Yeah.
Compelling assholes.
Compelling assholes. That's the comic. A family can be 16 compelling assholes. I mean, well, 14 because John and Jade are fine.
It's beautiful. Oh, I also want to shout out the bongo breakdown in this like flash, which is it's superimposing like scenes from these ancestors with Terezi and Vriska meeting on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
So like she's been lured up there, but Vriska really is up here.
Yeah, which kind of like confused me. But I guess just Gamzee knew that Vriska was up there, and so
yeah. But we get back to the story, and Terezi, we want to watch Terezi. It seems like we're bouncing back and forth a little bit in time, because then we see Terezi on a transportalizer facing a whole bunch of blood. And it's set up like a game, but if you try to walk, all you get is this glitched out objection screen.
Right, and it's like tied to the disc being scratched. Like, oh, you can't play Homestuck disc 2. You have to just watch what happens.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there's the objection that's like both an objection to you trying to control it, but it's also like it's the Ace Attorney objection, which is tied to Terezi being a lawyer, and also the music. It samples like the Ace Attorney like cornered music, which is like a banger.
See or descend. So note that earlier this reading we had see or descend. Now we have see or ascend.
Yeah. Oh, I found the track. It is in Terezi voice, blind justice, investigation.
Terezi typing quirk, you mean?
Yes.
Okay, but I like Terezi voice. I just wanted to... Okay. Blind justice investigation. Cool.
And yeah, it's like it samples like my favorite track from Ace Attorney, and it's like thematic and really good.
Oh, now I didn't even catch that because I don't play that. I've never played those games, but now I'm really curious about it.
I haven't even finished the first one. But it's just like a really fun, like over the top child's imagination of what a lawyer would be.
Nice.
Game. Yeah, it's fun.
So is Homestuck, but you cannot continue to play. The disc is too badly damaged. There's some really cool glitchy pages as like the comic itself starts to like break down. The interface starts to look all weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get this, in glitch text, the disc is too badly damaged. Visit doctor.
Before we jump there, I did want to note there's a couple more things in the like ancestor stuff. We didn't mention that after fighting the subjugator, Mindfang goes to Darklear, which is Equius's ancestor.
Stupid name, bad name.
Try he has again. Sunglasses. It's fine. And in that we find
he's also he's got like God, I've been listening to Counterweight. He's got cyberware in his head, so he's got like a big bald spot on the top of his head, and then like long hair falling down around it. That's very like, ooh, this could be what washed up grown up Equius could look like. Oh boy.
Out of all of the ancestors, it's most like washed up grown up Equius.
Mm-hmm.
But Darklear has been keeping something safe for her, a cue ball. which ties Mindfang to Doc Scratch as well.
Yes. And they allude to how Mindfang, it told Mindfang how she was going to die, and she regrets that, and she learned that she would be killed by her future lover, the Summoner, who's Tavros with butterfly wings, who leads an uprising, the likes of which haven't been seen since the, what is it? I can't remember what his name was. The symbols of the somebody who
the
is...
heretical symbols, where symbols is spelled with the B as a 6 and the O as a 9. Which is, like, first of all, nice. Second of all, like, the cancer symbol.
Yes, aka, so that's going to be Karkat.
Yeah.
So, I don't care.
But it's what leads, is it Condes? Is that how you say that?
Yes.
Is that, like, the Empress, basically?
Yes.
It's what leads her to banish all adults from Alternia, is this revolt led by Tavros' ancestor.
Yes. This is far in the future from, like, Mindfang's current time.
Yeah, she just, like, sees this in the future.
Time.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to check, whether that was actually true or just something she was, like, saying.
No, that's canonical, that blue-blooded trolls live. That's why I like this. The whole thing with, like, blood color is really uncomfortable.
Because there are actual biological differences.
Right, anytime, like, every sci-fi author ever does this, but it's like, it's a parallel to human racism, except there are biological differences. I'm like, alright, I mean, you still shouldn't discriminate, but, like, now you've kind of polluted the whatever. But it's also kind of, like, sad and interesting when taken in its own right, of, like, depending on, like, their like, blood color, it sort of, like, influences their metabolism, and so, like, very blue-blooded trolls live, like, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Red-blooded trolls live, like, human lives, short human lives, you know, they literally run hot, like, it's sad. So, you know, for example, like, the Summoner would, like, be born and die within her lifetime because he's got, you know, brown blood and she's got blue,
like a butterfly.
Yeah. Yeah, so it is actually pretty interesting, and that was a good call. That's actually very important history, that is why troll society is like that. You can trace it back, well, I mean, it was horrible and brutal before that, but there was this, like, catalyzing act that at least explains why these children now had to grow up in such a brutal world where they didn't have parents or an adult society to look up to at all, and had to raise themselves.
And it does seem like, so my previous theory was just kind of that this journal was written, like, basically as from the perspective of a kid making this up, whereas this seems a lot more like this is an adult who actually is living this and describing it.
Yeah, this is real.
Okay.
That's a cool fan theory, but, like, this really happened, or, like, at least in canon, these were real adult trolls.
So, okay, well, that was fun while I thought of it, but it also it helps to, like, have that cleared up.
Yes, but also put that notion in your back pocket.
Yeah. Okay.
Just put it in your back pocket.
All right. I tucked it in there. Okay, we have to visit the Scratch Doctor.
Okay. So, oh god. So reading this, I fucking hate this. Because I have ADD and it's really hard for me to, like, keep track of 3 different things. There are 3 concurrent storylines happening at the same time, literally on each same page. It's exhausting. Doc Scratch fucking sucks. Fuck this guy. I hate this guy.
I mean, it is nice that he turns the website green so we can read his text.
Oh, but he's such a fuckhead. Though, is the thing. He's an example of, like, okay, so Vriska's a villain that you, like, love to hate. Vriska and her ancestor, for the most part, you kind of love to hate them. They're very compelling. Doc Scratch is a villain where I have to respect the author for doing such a good job at making the reader viscerally hate him by just making him fucking frustrating to read. He, like, antagonizes you personally.
It is really, really interesting. Like, it's one of the really cool things about the format of the comic is that you can antagonize the villain can antagonize the reader with the formatting.
Yeah, it reminds me of I'm listening to Counterweight. I'm listening to the Counterweight arc of the Friends at the Table podcast, which is I would very much recommend. It's really cool. One of the cool things about it is, like, there's a villain who sucks because he's, like, extremely, like, socially, you know, manipulative in the way that extremely competent people can be, and that sucks to watch play out, but it especially sucks when, like, it's literally two people in a room and it's a player character trying to accomplish something and the GM just shutting them down with those conversational tactics.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's infuriating. It's so hard to listen to and it's great, but I hate it. Like, I had to take breaks.
Man, yeah.
And we return now, our scholarly podcast.
We'll do, once we finish Homestuck, we can just do a breezy Friends at the Table recap podcast.
Yes. No. Maybe that's the next thing. Like, you need a podcast to get you to listen to.
Maybe.
To consume, because that was the whole thing with Homestuck, right? It's like you were like, I'm never gonna read this unless I was doing a recap podcast, and I was like, let's do a recap podcast.
I mean, you're not wrong.
That's the origin story, baby.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah, we have to go over what Dr. Mr. Scratch says. He's basically making I don't know how deep you want to go into what he's doing here.
I want to hear what you're going to say, and then at some point I want to lay out visually how these three narrative threads are all being displayed and, like, go over them one at a time, rather than trying to say, like, and then this happens, and also as that's happening, this and this. I think that'll be impossible. So I think there's sort of an introduction, and then things start to splinter, and we'll want to go over the splinter threads separately from the main kind of interaction, where it's like first Scratch interacting directly with you, the reader, and then it begins him sort of narrating what's going on in the troll and kid storyline.
Right. I mean, like, I didn't like write down exactly what I thought was happening because I was just kind of taking it in. But basically what I understand this as is kind of like he's talking about how the way that we've seen, like, jokes, themes, characters, like, repeat themselves, like, throughout Paradox space, like, in the different timelines, the different universes, like, events also repeat themselves with, like, equivalent actors. So we see, like, an example is the shot of Beck stabbing through John's torso. We see the same thing with Vriska, but that's also in, like, it may or may not be in a Splinter timeline, because he's, like, doing this whole thing where he's imagining what would happen if Vriska went to fight Jack, but we don't know if that's what's happening or if Terezi actually killed her. But either way, it doesn't matter because Vriska keeps coming back because she's God mode, God tier, I mean, and can't be killed normally. It's very confusing.
Oh man. Okay, so I can expand on that. I can expand on that quite a bit. Yeah, this whole session, it makes me miss when I read it the first time, because it really does just kind of wash over you, and it's super compelling, and you do definitely later on end up having to go back and click the wiki and, like, read pages and be like, what the fuck actually, like, plot, because it's one of those things where Hussey expects you're gonna watch Cascade, and Hussey's gonna expect you to have understood what the fuck was going on there. And
I do want to say, like, I read this a week ago, and, like, at the time I was following. I cannot describe what was happening.
Yeah, no, it was the kind of thing that, even having read it a bunch of times, I actually had to sit down and, like, I've got a wall of text because I actually...
Okay.
One of the lines is, God, this comic is complicated.
I'm ready.
Okay, so there are triple storylines. So at first there's the main panel, like we've been seeing, the big panel image, and just narration text. It's not a pester log. Scratch is, like, talking directly to us as though he's the narrator. So it starts out almost as just set dressing, where the top banner area is an image of Doc Scratch's study, with, cool stuff in it. And what's about to happen is a story's going to play out in that top panel that's basically concurrent to Scratch talking to us, because he can sort of be in multiple places at once and focus on different things. So he's, being an excellent host and narrating to us, and meanwhile dealing with the shit that's about to pop off up there. Meanwhile, there's the main panel is sort of less him talking directly to us and more him narrating something that's going on in the main story. And there is actually a canonical narrative truth that's delivered that way, but I'll explain how that is. And then finally, what is it? There will also be... Go ahead.
The scrapbook?
So the scrapbook comes later, but yes.
Okay.
Intermittently, there will be panels in the main area that show another perspective on what's happening in the top panel. So sometimes that spills over
Right.
into the main panel. Meanwhile, the narration sometimes is about it, and sometimes it's not. And then at one point during the top panel storyline, Scratch adjusts it to play out a completely different thing happening in the kids' story, as I believe then that top panel storyline migrates down to the main panel.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot going on.
There sure is.
So I want to go over the top panel story actually first. This is what's literally happening. You want, as you're reading it, what you actually do is you focus on what Slick is narrating to you about the kids and the trolls. But in order to like unpack this, the best way to do it is go, okay, here's what's literally happening to you, the reader, from your almost like self-insert perspective in Doc Scratch's study.
Mm-hmm.
So, really quickly, what happens there is basically Spade Slick shows up in the study, oh god, hang on. Hold up, let me read my notes for a second. Yes, he eats candy. And is generally antagonistic. He tries to, he starts destroying the clocks in his study. He destroys the heroic/just clock, which we'll
and this is a callback to the Midnight Crew, interlude, right?
Yes, yeah, with 1001 out of 1000 clocks destroyed.
Yeah.
And it's suggested that, situational simultaneity is what's happening here.
That's what I was trying to remember the word for.
Yeah. So they are fighting, and okay. Oh, I didn't take notes on this. Okay, so let me just remember what happens here. Basically, they get in a fight. Doc Scratch starts to send henchmen in after him, and they Slick starts fighting back. He eventually starts burning the study down. And one of the henchmen comes in and just fills him full of bullets. He's dead. Okay? Then we cut to Snowman, if you remember her. From there, she is the one who, if you kill her, the universe dies. You destroy the universe. She's the 8-ball. So she, it's implied, sees all of this happening in the same panels in the main panel where we're talking about how Terezi is a seer of mind and watches alternate possibilities play out. So Snowman, it's suggested what's really we've been seeing is Snowman watching this possible reality play out where Slick gets filled with bullets.
Okay.
So she appears herself in the story and redirects the bullets through her body back into the henchman that's trying to kill him. So he falls over dead. And then recall that she is the character who's the reason that Spade Slick has an eye patch and a missing arm. Mm-hmm. She has been very antagonistic to him, and they hate Snog. So they are kiss-meesies. Then Scratch gets increasingly upset with this. He comes in and he cold cocks Slick in the head with this big giant bloody scrapbook. That's got a whole bunch of blood on it, and you'll recognize it. It's actually the .tilde-af programming language, till death, from the Troll universe.
What color blood is that on the book?
It is. I went through it. Okay, so it's not everyone's. It's Aridin, Vriska, Kanaya, Tavros, Nepeta, Terezi, Karkat, and Fefris.
Damn, you really went through it.
I really did. The only blood missing is Equius, Solix, Aradia, and Gamzee.
Okay.
I don't remember where it came from.
Okay.
But so he hits Slick, his hat flies off, and it breaks the book. Mm-hmm. And then Slick punches Jack out the window, follows him down to the ground, and confronts him with a gun. And he says, "You're not supposed to kiss her, Mr. Slick. You're supposed to kill her." And it looks like he's about to shoot him, but what he does is he hands the gun to him by I don't know what you call it, the gun handle. There's a word for it that I don't remember.
The gun handle.
I think it's called the stock, I don't know. So it hands it to him, and in that panel where the barrel is pointed at his head, there's an image of an 8-ball shimmering over his face.
Over Jack's face? Or Slick's face?
Over Doc Scratch's face.
Doc Scratch's face.
So now it's Slick on the ground with this gun in his face, the handle of this gun in his face with the barrel pointed at Doc Scratch. The whole thing is that Slick was supposed to kill Snowman. She was antagonizing him. Slick was supposed to kill her and thereby destroy the universe, or, kill Doc Scratch, which has the same effect, which will bring his employer into existence, right? That's his goal. He's
Right.
trying to die to
Right.
bring about his employer. Did we know
Okay.
his employer's name?
Lord English.
Yes. Okay. I wasn't sure whether that had been revealed yet. Yes. So he's trying to bring Lord English into the world by getting himself killed. Then Scratch hands Slick the gun, and he cuts out that panel. Okay, so that's what goes on in that storyline. Meanwhile, somewhere in there, that became the main panel, and Scratch adjusted. He implies that what's been playing out in that top panel was actually like a screen that he had control over, so he like shakes it and adjusts it to show you something else as
just before we move on from that, I just wanted to note that when Doc Scratch throws Space Slick out the window, that was the first time I realized that there was anything else on the moon besides Doc Scratch's house. He's like in a penthouse, like in the city. I thought it was just his house up there.
Nah, it's the moon.
I mean, I don't know why I thought that, because like it's a spacefaring civilization. Like, of course, their own moon would have like stuff on it, but it just never occurred to me.
Well, I mean, because they don't spend a whole long time harping on the idea that, if you recall, these are actually the exiles. The Carapace people in this world are the Alternian exiles. They are the trolls' exiles.
Right. So this is the same moon as the exile moon?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I did know that, and I guess I just forgot.
Yeah, there's just a lot going on here. So yes, so that plays out. Then, as Scratch adjusts the narrow fenestrated panel, we switch to just a quick little silent scene between Dave and Jade, where they're harvesting frogs to breed them on Jade's planet in order to kindle the forge. And then Jack shows up and is just doing a whole bunch of murders. And they're breeding frogs on the land of Frost and Frogs, and then Bec Noir shows up. They start fighting. Noir uses his space powers to reroute Jade's bullets, because she fights with like assault rifles, which reads a little differently in 2019. But she fights with an assault rifle. And so Noir basically phases the bullets through his body, redirects them back to Dave. And then we got back to them. Jade's bending over his body, like knowing that she has to kiss him to kind of bring him back to life. And Noir is like just over her shoulder. He's still there. So that's that storyline. Now we return to our regularly scheduled programming. This is actually the main story that's happening with the kids.
Okay, so the way that these panels were laid out, everything you just said, I basically didn't even notice.
Whoa.
Because like it was in like scrapbook pages and like in between panels, and I was just like focusing on the Vriska story. Yeah,
it's the kind of thing that you would have to go back and reread.
When I saw that like the scrapbook pages, I thought those were just like flashbacks that were thematically relevant, but no, it's a whole other story happening.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Oh gosh, and we're gonna get into those. We're actually about to spend the next 2 episodes just going through those clippings for the most part.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Yeah, so the Doc Scratch storyline ends on actually him going, "What a mess, like, feel free to examine the clippings while I tidy."
Okay.
And what you're about to be able to do is click through a bunch of different, short little, stories on each of the characters, which made me think, he's like, "Oh, what a mess," and he, like, contrives this whole thing of, like, now you're gonna click on the clippings. On the one hand, like, cool job, multimedia storytelling, but also, what I wrote was, did Hussey conceive of this entire device just to get out of writing a continuous narrative running up to Cascade? Like, you know what I mean? Like, on the one hand, it's like, this is a cool device. I now lean more towards, like, this was a cool narrative device to use. But it also makes me think of the way that, like, Hussey didn't necessarily have... for all that Hussey killed his darlings, he didn't kill his darling, parallel storylines. And there's just, like, so much going on. He likes to show you everything that's happening. Very little happens off screen. And so, at this point, like, it's starting to proliferate beyond the ability to do it, beyond the ability to even pretend to do it as, like, now we cut to this, and then we cut to this. Like, I'm not even going to try to be linear anymore. You can figure out how this all goes together.
I mean, yes, but also, I think a lot has happened off screen so far, like, especially, I think I mentioned last time, like most of the trolls spurb section or session, sorry, like just wasn't shown. It was just implied to be similar to what the kids experienced.
That's true. But still, the amount of stuff that happens on screen is like, really feels too much.
Yeah, for sure.
This comic's just really big. But you gotta remember, it came out serially, so like in between updates, when you could like rehash everything with the fandom, it was manageable.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got a friendly podcast. Y'all can't see the eyebrows I just did, but there was some eyebrows that happened for you.
Okay, so for the Vriska and Terezi storyline, I do have notes because I was actually following it.
Please
take us away. So what happens is basically Vriska and Terezi have a standoff where Terezi, basically Doc says like Vriska isn't gambling that Terezi won't be able to kill her. She knows that she won't be able to kill her. What she's gambling with is whether. Wait, is that right?
Yeah.
So what's she gambling with? Sorry.
She let me read.
Yeah.
So it happens. Okay, yes. So there we are. Terezi flips a coin and she says, "Heads you stay, tails you go." She just says "go." What they both mutually know Terezi is purporting to say is that "go" means fight Jack, but they also both know that Terezi really means "I kill you right here."
Right.
But Vriska knows that Terezi can't bring herself to kill her, and so she is actually pretty confident. You know what I mean? She's not actually gambling with that coin flip at all. She knows that she's going to get out of this scot-free. Meanwhile, we cut over to Rose, and she's failing to beat Jack again, and she blows up the battlefield pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Dies. Then John comes back to life because now might be a good time to talk about heroic and just.
Yeah. So we find out that as a god tier player, normal death won't stick. Basically, from what I understand, you can only die as a god tier player if your death is heroic or just.
Yes.
And if it's that's symbolized by this pendulum ticking back and forth between the two concepts. And it's, I guess, like if it's somewhere in the middle, then you don't die.
Yeah, this beautiful gold grandfather clock in Doc Scratch's study. It literally exists.
Yeah, which is like breaks.
Yeah, he breaks it later on, and that's Vriska's death, which we're getting to.
Mm-hmm.
So John comes back to life because his death was neither heroic or just. He just got like ambushed in the middle of doing something, and so now his job is going to be to kiss Rose and bring her back to life. And as that's happening, Vriska is messaging him, urging him to bring Rose back to life by kissing her, and then also explaining that she likes him and like wants to go on a date with him.
Yeah.
And it's sad because she's like, maybe she wants to lay down, what she perceives as this burden of having to be as murderous as she is,
mm-hmm.
right? She wants to be able to stop sweating that. Kind of poignant. I don't think it's a redemption, but like I said, she's a good villain.
Yeah, exactly.
So meanwhile on the rooftop, that's when Terezi shows up, and so Vriska gets away from that coin flip, and
mm-hmm.
Jack follows her. And
sorry. What happens is she flies off to confront Jack, and when she reaches him, he just kind of like looks behind her and sees that she's left this like glittery trail because she's like god tier and like has butterfly wings, and has just left this like sparkle trail directly back to the lab where they are, and he just like teleports away from her. Yeah,
he teleports away, teleports back, drops Terezi and Karkat's bodies at her feet.
Yeah, like just instantly.
Yeah. Vriska, they say, or Scratch tells us, has a good shot at beating him because she's been stockpiling luck this whole time, and so her dice are kind of loaded. She plays with dice, and her dice are about to give her a really good attack.
Yeah.
But what Scratch tells us is that Terezi, as Seer of Mind, knows that that's not the alpha timeline, because what is it? That can't be the alpha timeline, because Jack is about to go just rampage and murder everyone, and that, like, do you know what I mean? I can't remember exactly why it is she said that that's like not. That's not
Yeah,
possible.
I
Um,
I kind of lost the thread there.
oh man.
Um,
Go
well,
back
I
and
have
read
I
it.
have notes. Doc starts talking about how a seer of mind would predict differently from himself.
Hmm.
Um, and Terezi is a seer of mind. Doc says this fight he's projecting wouldn't be on the Alpha timeline. It's because the Alpha timeline is the one that contains his birth and death.
Yes.
So a timeline where he doesn't die doesn't work.
Yeah.
Therefore, in the Alpha timeline, Terezi must kill Vriska.
Yes. Yeah. That's right. Okay. Hang on.
Um, but yeah, so then sorry, I misspoke earlier. The parallel between Jack stabbing John is actually Terezi stabbing Vriska through the torso.
Yes. Okay, so what sort of story would this be with our knight and seer made to stay cadavers? Certainly not one the Alpha timeline would allow. She basically. So what they're suggesting is that Terezi may not necessarily understand that this is tied to Lord English's arrival or not, Doc Scratch's death, but
Hmm.
she can at least see that like the Alpha timeline does not involve, she and Karkat staying dead, or at least it's not her Alpha timeline, right?
Hmm.
And so, despite the fact that she's not ready to murder Vriska necessarily, like out of her own reasoning, via her like seer powers, she realizes that she has to stop her, or like in the Alpha timeline, she must stop her. And so, as soon as Vriska turns away from that coin flip, she stabs her through the chest,
Hmm.
and that's what happens.
Yeah. Um, Meanwhile, like as this happens, Karkat arrives on the roof just in time to witness it. With a
Yeah.
note in his hand from quote unquote from Terezi, promising sloppy makeouts.
Pro sloppy makeouts on the roof now. So Karkat's up there, and then Solix and Kanaya are behind him, and he finds Terezi standing over Vriska's body.
Hmm.
Everyone's horrified, and then Gamzee is behind all of them, wielding Zillihu. So this is where we got that shot a while
Hmm.
ago of him looming, holding the hammer of Zillihu. How did he get it? Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
And then it kind of ends you on Vriska's messages to John before he goes into the blackout, which is what happens when he goes into Rose's sort of grimdark aura.
Hmm.
Uh,
She berates him for not knowing off the top of the head that breathing life back into Rose with a kiss is like an option in the game. And she kind of like lists all the ways like resurrection's possible.
yeah,
Which I think we actually like breathing life with a kiss like that happened pretty early, I think, but I had forgotten about it as well.
yeah. So she's sort of also berating the audience.
Hmm.
And this is where she asks him on a date and confesses she wants to beat the game. She wants to meet him. She wants to beat the game so that she can meet him, and she wants to let down, her burden of having to be a murder troll.
Yeah,
It's sad.
it's sad. Um, After she's dead, John answers and says like, "Yeah, I like to go on a date, sure." Um, After kissing Rose, so she's okay. But
Yeah.
then on on this very sentimental chat log between John and Briska, uh, Karkat picks up.
Yeah.
I forget the exact words. It was like, "What the fuck, Egbert?"
And then John's trying to like ask him what's going on, and he's like, okay, wait. And this is like what I love about Karkat is he's this like asshole, but he's also so sensitive. So he's like, wait, did you actually like have feelings for her? And they waffle back and forth about that, and
Hmm.
Karkat's just like, did you like her, you idiot? And he's like, I guess. And so Karkat's like, then don't worry about it. I need you like I need your wits about you. And he doesn't tell him that Vriska's dead.
Right, but I mean, was that a just or heroic death?
So and that's the thing is that uh what they say with the clock smash is that wait a minute. Okay, yeah. So if you look carefully at the panel where Slick is smashing the clock, where it is sort of deliberating on whether Vriska's death is heroic or just, it stops on just.
Okay,
And the idea is that at the end of the day, she thought she was being heroic to go try and stop Jack, but it's
it
kind of
was just to stop her from that.
It was just to stop her from that. Yeah, she was going to bring about everyone's destruction, and she knew that. I mean, she knew that like she might lose, and she was underestimating,
Hmm.
the or not acknowledging how what a terrible consequence it would be for all of her friends to die because she wanted to go be the hero.
Right.
And so and also she's kind of a nightmare character,
Hmm.
and so it was a just death. Vriska stays dead.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm. It's too bad that we'll never see Vriska again.
Mm-hmm. It's
Only
a
3,872 pages in,
yeah.
and the main character's gone.
Oh, it's a shame. Oh, it's just a
So meanwhile, Rose's dream self wakes up,
shame.
um, still going black, but not like grimdark.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she's not sure what's up. I think she's like a bit confused,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't see what's going on with her yet.
Yeah, it's we're not there yet.
Hmm.
And that all wraps up on now we're gonna examine these clippings.
Okay. Uh, I think it's Doc who says if, or no, it's sorry, it's Karkat who explains to John, basically to sum up the plan with the scratch. If the plan's successful, they'll end up in a new session with alternate versions of themselves.
Yeah.
And so we'll find out what that means, I guess, at some point.
Yeah.
But before then, we're gonna have to read some scraps.
Yeah. You're gonna have to read a lot of scraps and then see Cascade, which we have made its own whole episode because holy shit, I hate when this happens in media and this is like the epitome of it and it's such a cool, good visual that they get away with it. Yeah. Yeah. Cascade's really cool. I can't wait to get to it. We are finally fucking getting there. Oh my god, it's been
Yeah.
literally almost 4 years just to get to this point, but I'm so hyped out of my mind.
Me too. So yeah, thanks for sticking with us. Again, we're hoping to get a bit more consistent, or at least uh, not maybe if not consistent, just more prolific,
Yeah.
relatively. I guess some updates. I'm going back to school in the fall, so I'm gonna be busy, but hopefully like have a healthy mind space.
Mm.
And so I'm gonna try to make time for this.
Yeah, and I've got a steady I dropped out of grad school. I've got a nice like steady job that's like not too draining. And shortly after achieving that, I then commenced like a really long renovation project. I like moved in with my partner and we had to do like major renovations on our fucking house.
Hmm.
But that's done now. I live here, like I have a bed. I'm not sleeping on a mattress on the floor. I'm not freaking out constantly, so I'm hoping it really feels like things are gonna kind of be chill from here on out. Like life is still a reality and this is never going to be probably a regular podcast again, but it's
Hmm.
we didn't forget about you. Like we're still hyped about this podcast fucking 4 years later.
Yeah, I think like honestly, the fact that I read Homestuck still, and I'm just like, oh, this shit is sick. Means that no matter how long it takes, we'll get through this.
We will get through this. We will get through this with you.
Yes.
And thanks for coming along on the ride. Like it's
Yeah.
really neat.
We have. I mean, we're on a network now.
Yeah.
It's very low key. It's not like a maximum fun thing. It's just my friend Matt has a lot of server space and thought that one of the best ways he could use it is to host his friends' podcasts, and so we're on the noisepace.xyz network. And it's just it's free real estate. It's free hosting. And we're
It's
really
free real
appreciative
estate.
to Matt and to everyone on the Noisepace network. If you want to check out some other shows there, I'm on one called Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die, which is not a threat, it's just a fact. It's a podcast about politics that we try to make fun instead of awful.
Oh, they succeed. I would say that the hosts are successful.
Thank you. I was on last night and we talked about what did we talk about? Funny things. I don't know. My brain's a sieve. Um, but yeah, that's an example of the good kind of podcast you can find there, including this one now. Just as a technical note, when we moved to Noise Space, all of our show notes, which we had written on Tumblr, broke because the Tumblr redirect links that Tumblr gives you for any link you put in the body of text uh, will break after a certain time. So I'm slowly rebuilding those.
Thank you,
But
Alex, for saving the show.
but if you're subscribed on any Well, we were only on the iTunes store before and on Libsyn, but now we're on Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play. And if you're on the iTunes subscription feed, it should just automatically update to the new feed. But we'll keep the Libsyn feed going for a little while to migrate. There's like a migration function built into Libsyn.
Cool. Yeah, I'm so excited. I gotta say, this is all like Alex. Like, she made all of this happen with her like awesome like network and online general activity and being a cool person and active in the podcasting community. I have kind of gone to ground. I am not very online. I think maybe a handful of y'all follow me from like way back in the old days, but I like put my Twitter on private to go have a really weird couple of years. I want to throw my hat over the fence here. I'm gonna go back public. I'm not sure exactly how I'm gonna do that yet, but hopefully, soon I am gonna have like a public handle. It might be the same, it might be different, so that I can actually like interact with y'all and interact with the like the podcasting community because I'm ready to not have my head in the sand constantly.
Well, thank you all very much for listening. This has been the Hamsteak podcast, and thank you so much. I forget what we say at the end.
We don't.
Oh, yeah.
We say we forget how we sign off, and then we remember that we don't have a sign off still. It's in 43 episodes. Thanks.
Thank you.